What does beer look like? 4 things to describe in beer appearance. When you're tasting beer, there are different aspects of the beer that you need to take in to fully appreciate it. We want to look at the appearance, we want to take in the aroma, and we want to take in the taste. But how do you describe what a beer looks like? There are 4 parts to what a beer looks like, and I'm going to show you how to assess those today. The first step in assessing what does a beer look like, you must put it in a glass. It doesn't really matter what glass, but there are different glasses that are good for different beer styles. The reason that we put the beer in a glass is not only so that we can see it outside of the can or bottle, but it's also so that we can release the aromas and flavours. That helps us later on when we move on to aroma and taste. On certain beers, especially if they have been aged, you would also want to move the beer off of the old yeast cells or any sediment in the bottle so you can get the full flavour. The first thing we're going to assess when we consider what does a beer look like is its colour. The colour of a beer is measured on the SRM scale. That is the Standard Reference Method scale. This ranges from 2 at the lightest end, which is your palest Pilsner, which can be described as straw, up to 40 plus at the darkest end, much like your Imperial Stout, which is going to be almost black. Colour is added to your beer by the malts that are selected by the brewer. If a lighter malt is added, then you're going to get a lighter colour. But if more roasty or specialist malts, like caramel malt, is added, you're going to get more colours like amber, red, chestnut, brown and black. So it's important to consider what malts the brewer may have used in the beer that you're trying. The next thing to consider when wondering what does a beer look like is clarity. That is the clearness of your beer. Some beers can be bright and clear, some will be hazy, and some might be even soupy. Consider if you can see all the way through your beer. You might want to put your hand behind your beer and see how clearly you can see it. And in darker beers, it may not be as opaque as you think. Sometimes they have a highlight. One way that real beer geeks and beer judges assess the clarity of their beer is to get a torch and shine it through their beer. Then you can see sometimes that a dark beer might have a red or a gold highlight. You don't need to keep a torch in your pocket though. You can use the light on your mobile phone or hold your beer up to a light in your room. Next, we're going to look at head. This is an important part of describing what does your beer look like. Heads can be big and small, they can last all the way to the end of your pint, or they can disappear almost entirely as soon as the beer is poured. Look at the shape and the thickness of your head. Is it thick and creamy? Is it rocky? Is it made up of lots of little bubbles? Sometimes they can be quite fizzy and disappear quite quickly, maybe on a sour beer. And on a nitro beer, you're going to get that cascading effect when it is poured and then a thick, dense, creamy head at the top. The glass that is used for the beer may also affect the head. For example, in a wheat beer, there are particular glasses that capture the dense head that wheat produces in beer. And you get a nice, thick, creamy head at the top of your beer in the correct glass. Some, however, can make the head dissipate very quickly. Another way that your head will dissipate very quickly is if you're eating anything with oils or if you've got lipstick or lip balm on. That is going to affect the head retention on your beer. So if you are in a mindful tasting zone, try not to wear lipstick or lip balm and don't eat anything with oils on like crisps or pork scratchings because it will destroy the head of your beer. Think about the colour of the head. They're going to range from a lovely bright white to beige or tan and sometimes brown. If the beer contains fruit, you might also end up with a tinge to the head. If there's raspberries, strawberries or cherries in the beer, for example, you might end up with a white tinged head as well. So consider again the ingredients in your beer while thinking about what it looks like. Let's not forget carbonation when we are considering what does our beer look like. Have a good look in your beer. If it's hazy, it's going to be more difficult to see those carbonation bubbles, but in your lighter beers, you might be able to see lots of streaming carbonation bubbles in the body of your beer. What size are those bubbles? Are they big, fat and lazy coming up your glass? Or are they tiny, streaming nicely through the middle of your beer? You can use this as a descriptor as well when you're thinking about what your beer looks like. Those are the 4 different components to look for in appearance when considering what does beer look like. If you would like to learn more about beer tasting and assessing beers, you can join my beer tasting course, Build Your Beer Vocabulary. We look at the appearance of beer. Through live beer tastings and sensory activities, we will build your understanding of beer tasting and give you new words so that you can describe boldly the beers that you're enjoying. Sign up and join us today.